Hey, it's Dan, and welcome back to Unified Gaming. Now in today's video guys, I want to go through and talk about the Stonethorn DLC 6.1.2, which is the third week of the PTS. Now with the PTS, they changed lots of things, so obviously things could change from this video, so don't go, this is what it's going to be in a couple of weeks. But with week 3, things don't change drastically in all honesty, so you can kind of be a bit more confident now that actually things can kind of sort of stay in stone almost, and you can kind of start to build your character so you're ready from like week 1. I will go through as well in the next couple of days and actually show you examples of sets and do like gear reviews and stuff, so you've got a really good idea of what's good, what's not good, and kind of what to expect. So make sure you are subscribed to that. As with this kind of patch and the kind of the changes here, there's nothing massive in all honesty. There is one thing which is really controversial. I'm not going to go through it in this video because, you know, that's very clickbaity, and I'm going to kind of spend a dedicated video going through it because, you know, it's a big issue and it needs addressing. But as I said, this is just for this like review here only, okay? So if you want to see that, then make sure you are subscribed, as I said. As with kind of this, the thing I'm referring to is just they've got some plans for area effect abilities and kind of how they're going to test stuff by adding cast times or like ramping cost increases and stuff. I will go through that in another video and give you kind of my thoughts on it. As I said, you know, check this here. There'll be a link in the description. There'll be a video coming out like shortly after this one, so do subscribe. As for kind of this patch, they're going to test the Imperial City event, which is pretty cool. It's the same as last time, so, you know, don't stress. They haven't really changed much in all honesty. They've gone through and they've basically changed some passives with the Nightblade. So previously this Executioner passive, you had to like use an assassination ability within 2 seconds to get it to proc. Now it's just any damage by you, it's just easier to proc, which is good. So that's kind of the big one there. They fixed a bug with, you know, Toxic Barrage. So when you hit somebody, they could roll dodge and they'll still take damage basically. They've now fixed that, so that's good. They fixed some issues with heavy attacks, and again it's nothing massive, but basically sets that were like Infallible Mage or Infallible Ether, when you deal damage with a heavy attack, it'll apply like minor vulnerability, and you have to like land the full heavy attack in order to get it. In the past you didn't have to get the full heavy attack, you could do like a medium weave, so this is just more reliable now and it just makes more sense. So again, it's nothing massive for PvP. Same with these bits here. This is really interesting in all honesty. As you can probably guess kind of from the previous couple patches, and there's no changes to proc sets on the whole, this patch is going to be the proc meta once more, but it's like 3.0. Like I know people are going to 2.0, but just the amount of damage there is currently with these procs compared to how it used to be is like skipped to 2.0. It's so strong. And you've got Malakath, you've got obviously loads of pen sets, you've got things like New Moon, so you can have like, you know, really high proc damage or high stat builds, or, you know, a combination of both. And, you know, is there no one else did a video just showing just with light attacks and procs you can kill people, add in skills, and, you know, you're going to be you'll murder people. So yeah. As for this, Shadow of the Red Mountain, this is basically the stamina version of Galorgian's Legacy, but it is better in all honesty. The difference is that this has slightly less damage, so this now has 12,840 damage at base, which means it can go up with CP, it can go with Minor Berserk, percent boost like Animal Companions. You also got other things that can increase it as well, so if it's say a fire damage, anything that has a fire damage boost will make this go up. So this is really going to go up to, you know, a good sort of 17-18k tooltips. So this will be a really strong proc, especially like in CP, and in no CP it's even worse. So yeah, this is a really strong set. It is 8 seconds though, so it's kind of, it's not as kind of overpowered as it was before, but it's very bursty. So if you land this with another skill, you're going to hit really hard. And this set no longer procs on weapon passives as they're considered procs, so you basically have to use like a staff for example, or a skill. So you could use Crushing Shock, you could use Dizzying Swing, you could use Rapid Strikes. You know, it's easy to proc in all honesty, so this is a good set to get, like, buy if you can now. And then the kind of magic version is Galorgian's Legacy. This was changed last patch to remove the critical strike like requirement, so currently on live you have to land a crit to get this to proc. They basically took it away, and then they realised how busted this set is and they've added it back. And they basically also changed some of the bits over here. So the set no longer excludes non-Magicka orientated attacks to proc its condition. So any kind of damage, light attack with swords for example, could proc this now if they crit. So it's easy to proc, but because you need to get a critical strike, you can't use Malakath with this, so it's kind of like a nerf from last cycle to this cycle. They have increased the damage a little bit, but just comparing these two sets quickly, this is a 10-second cooldown with a travel time of 750 milliseconds, so it's really fast travel time, but you have to critically strike to get this to proc. So if you have low crit rating, this isn't going to work. If you use Malakath, this is not going to work. This one, however, this has almost identical damage, but it's every 8 seconds, so this fires slightly quicker. The travel time is slightly longer though, it's like 1.5 seconds because you got a little animation. So the stamina version does more kind of consistent damage and it's easy to use, so I think this is probably slightly stronger in all honesty, and it has better 2, 3 and 4 pieces. This is good, but you know, it's only good on Magblade and maybe Magical Warden, so this is really good in like BGs, these sets here. As for Elemental Succession, this is the one that when you do damage with an element, so fire, you get this extra spell damage added to fire abilities. Same with Rock, Lightning, Shock, you get the idea. It's not a great change. They've nerfed it, so they've taken 60 damage from this roughly, which means things like New Moon, although it's less than this, it buffs your heals. Things like War Maiden, which, you know, if you're a Templar, most of your damage is considered magic. This is a better version. You've got things like Innate Axiom, which again, if you use class abilities like a Dragon Knight, for example, that's 400 spell damage, so it's not quite 492, but it buffs your heals. So this is a good set to use, but I don't think many people will run it because it doesn't buff heals. So it's not as good as it used to be, basically. Stormmaster, they fixed an issue with this, so it procs easier now. PvP, they reduced Potentes, so it's down to 3% from 5%, but that was in the first week, so I don't know if people saw that or not. I did see it on live, I didn't kind of mention it because I wasn't sure if it's a bug or not, but no, that's actually a thing now. So is this set dead? No, there's people on YouTube claiming this set is pointless now. It's really, really not. 3% is basically 18,000 armor, so the way to kind of measure it is, can you find a 2-piece bonus that gives you 18,000 armor roughly? And if the answer is no, Potentes is probably better. So 9 times out of 10, this will be better. The only exception will be is if you have loads of percent mitigations, which is in CP, with things like Buff of the Swift and this, then you might be better with just armor. Trial set wise, they've just nerfed Redikuin, but buffed it in the same way, so it's kind of like the opposite of Sororia now. It's got 10 stacks, the stacks are slightly more though, and they obviously every half second, so it's kind of like a nerf in some ways but a buff in others. But in all honesty, it doesn't make much difference in PvP. This will still be good in PvE, it's just not going to be like the best in slot. You know, it's good, but you could use other sets and they would get a similar DPS. Olarims, they've just changed a few things with this, so it just prioritizes the right people. Mythic items, they've changed Stranglers again, so this honestly feels like they don't know what they're doing with this, in all honesty. So based on what they said last week to what they're going to do this week, they didn't do those things. They've kind of changed their mind again. So the difference now with this is that you get 17 damage per stack, and they no longer make you take extra damage or reduce your healing taken. So you could use this in PvP in theory, but it's this bit here. This set now causes you to lose 120 maximum health for every stack you have. The maximum stat count stays at 50, resulting in the final stats to be 850 weapon and spell damage. You lose 6,000 health though, and your shields are 50% less effective. Now for me, 850 weapon and spell damage doesn't seem a massive benefit for losing 6,000 health in PvP. This means you could use it on a tank though, but you can't use shields. So this could be used on tanks in all honesty, but you have to get 50 kills, you can't die with it. So they've kind of made this set pointless in PvP, so I wouldn't use this anymore. And they've kind of also made them last 1 hour to kind of just give you that kind of, it's there if you use it properly, but in all honesty, this isn't good for PvP anymore. It's alright in PvE, but because it's not a massive boost, it's only 850, it's only going to be used in like raid groups and stuff, and maybe some dungeons, but that's really it. And then Monster Masks, they fixed an issue with Earth Gore, that's pretty much it. And that is like the patch. They haven't changed much. So, you know, that's the patch, kind of this one here. What do I think of this patch? Well, I think it's going to be very proc focused, in all honesty. If you've been playing the game for a while, you will remember the old proc, like the proc sort of meta where you had Vipers and Selines and people just basically proc you to death. Then you had like the kind of slowed proc meta, where you had basically that slowed set that was just really overpowered. And basically they've kind of given you those levels of damage on any proc. So if you use things like Windspawn, Torag's Pat, Flame Blossom, Claudian's Legacy, Shadow Red Mountain, Plague Slinger, Widowmaker, Venomous Smites, the new set Unleashed Terror, I think it's called, all of those are really strong procs. And like I can go on and go on and go on. Every proc is really strong, to the point that the procs are generally stronger than your skills. So like most of the procs will do more DPS than your skill would cost, and it costs no stamina, no magicka to use them. They do have obviously cooldowns of like 5 to 10 seconds generally. So this patch, in all honesty, will be kind of build for procs and add in some extra health to stay alive, is my kind of gut feeling of this patch. As for this bit, as I've said, this will come in another video, so do make sure you are subscribed. And if you want to see kind of more gameplay from us, jump into our Twitch. We do it every Saturday, sometimes in the week if there's time. But with that said, guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here because it's long enough as it is. And if you want to see more sort of stuff from the PTS, then obviously leave a comment. But with that said, guys, as I said, take care, thanks for watching, and bye.